Hello and welcome. You're watching NewsX. I'm Rishabh Gulati, and very much as a game-changing agreement between India and the US was being signed, the Chinese were trying to launch more spy satellites to keep an eye on what is happening in the Indian subcontinent and across the South China Sea. This has happened literally timed to the very moment that the Americans have agreed to share real-time satellite data with us. Real-time means at the resolution that they can offer, that Indian forces now can call up from any part of the globe what they required in terms of latest satellite imagery, not just photographs, but real video imagery. The positioning of cameras, the positioning of spy satellites, and well, guess what? The Chinese are trying to expand their own network. We have our own remote sensing quote-unquote satellites that perform this work for our armed forces and our intelligence agencies. But the scale at which the Chinese have been launching theirs indicates that they are deeply concerned of an inherent advantage now being enjoyed by the pooling of resources of what are now the Quad powers. The question we have to ask and answer is, what is this indicative of? Is this just a race that is going on? Groups of countries trying to get ahead of each other, we've seen it before. Or is it more troubling? Last time, a month and a half ago, when the last series of Yagon satellites were launched, we had this conversation indicating how the satellite paths went exactly over the line of actual control to give them data several times per day on what is happening there. Let's open this up. Before I open, my guest joining us on the broadcast, can I take the advantage? PCR, can we get a touchpad on our screens, please? Now, what you're seeing on your screens here, and let me show you a higher resolution image, is indicative of the first satellite. This is the Yaogan 30V. Now, have a look at the trajectory of this satellite, right? It has several trajectories during the course of a day, but the principal trajectory takes it over the Indian subcontinent and then over the South China Sea. So over the Indian subcontinent here, over the South China Sea over here. This is the first satellite that has been launched in the past 24 hours. Have a look at the second one. This is the Yaogan 30U, and let me show you a better resolution image of it. Here you go. In the 30U, again, the trajectory of the satellite, have a look at it. Takes it over just south of the Indian subcontinent, covering the Bay of Bengal, covering the Andaman Islands, and then going across the South China Sea. This is the Yaogan 30U that has now been launched. And the last one which has been launched is the 30W. Let me show you a better resolution photograph of it. Here it is. This is the 30W. Again, almost an identical trajectory, taking it over the Bay of Bengal, the Indian subcontinent, across the northeast of India, and then hopping across the South China Sea, right here, just south of the Korean Peninsula, then going off over Japan before it continues to traverse its trajectory. Now, these are commercial navigators that are tracking the movements of all satellites, and they've picked up the latest versions of the Chinese satellites as well. Let me quickly open up into this conversation. Professor Madhav Nalapat, Wing Commander Praful Bakshi joining us on the broadcast. Major General Shashi Asthana is with us also, and let me take the opportunity also of inviting into the telecast Ksiddhartha, who sat with us in the space conversations before this. Professor Nalapat, I mean, literally this is happening on cue, faced with the pooling of Quad satellite resources. We have our own, the Japanese have their own, the Aussies have their own, but no comparison to what the Americans can put together. We've even put together the NewsX system over the past year that covers South Asia, which looks to provide GPS level commercial facilities, but of course can perform much more high resolution tracking for other defense related purposes, security related purposes. But literally the day that Pompeo is sitting with Jaishankar signing this agreement, the Chinese put 3 more satellites covering South Asia and the South China Sea into orbit. Is this a space race, or should we be more troubled? For our viewers watching this broadcast, now there are capabilities that are crucial I can't overestimate to our people how important they are, because communication systems, navigation systems, missile navigation systems are all almost wholly, I mean, you can have gyroscopic navigation on board, but honestly the backup systems are all done by GPS or some other navigation system. Can you explain to our viewers on the security front why this satellite net is so important?
They are important for a variety of reasons, and one of them is other than tracking the movement of the troops, identifying the troops, identifying a single individual with the help of their range. The other part is you can actually go on to increase the swath of the sun synchronous polar orbit satellites, which will be helpful to track the ships in the ocean. Now that is equally significant, largely because with a wide swath, the image goes on to become blurred, and the moment you want to change the angle of the satellites, the image goes on to become very, very high, and its resolution is very high. You can actually know which is the ship which is going to be waiting in which region, and along with this flag. That is why it is significant. Second is wading through a missile that wades through a variety of terrains and a variety of surfaces. That goes on to become very easy with the sharing of the geospatial data. The third part is we'll be able to concentrate more on certain things like where exactly certain stealth equipments have been kept and under what type of a signature. Now this signature is very important because most of the high resolution pictures go on to help us resolve this resolution and signature aspect as well. These are the three aspects that are significant.
Okay, so one is the obvious, we saw the satellite photograph of the Chinese, underground submarine bases, in Hainan just a few weeks ago, and these were caught by commercial satellites. So if the level of commercial satellites, it was possible to spot them. Imagine the real-time navigation over here. The counter facilities, sir, electronic interference, electronic espionage, what are the kind of technologies that are emerging in space?
Now, some of these things have been existing before. For example, communication intelligence, electronic intelligence, they have been there. But our main problem is, what the Chinese have been doing right now, and with the 3 new satellites that they've launched, they have been in a 500 kilometer of a range. That means from the surface. Now they are going to be lowering it. Americans do going to be having their another part of it that we're going to be calling it by X-37B. But then X-37B goes on to monitor only one type of a satellite, and that is one. Chinese have 2 different type of it. One of them is a Jiangbing, and the other is going to be Yaogan. Now, for these 2 of them, one of them going to be having SARS, SARS. Now, it is essentially SARS that we are concentrating on, and our most important, the Chinese most important aspect is going to be, again, I repeat it, that is concentrating on the sea lanes of communication, concentrating on the ships, identifying it, narrowing down the swath, and increasing the resolution of it.
Okay, increasing the resolution is the game, but we are looking at possible other interventions that can be done. Everything is not blowing up a satellite. Electronic disruption can happen because communication systems are satellite driven. It's another realm of cyber warfare which is emerging. You can have enhanced satellite communication ability. If you have a net of satellites, your ability to domestically have direct satellite communications, which is the next level of communications, is going to become very, very important. And of course, the Chinese satellites potentially become the future carriers of communication signals. So the point I'm trying to make is, don't just worry about the 5G tower. Worry about which satellite in space is carrying the electronic communications as well, because who knows what that hardware and software capacity is going to be. That in the cyber domain, in the space domain, in the enhancement which is called the ability to have electronic warfare or fire and forget systems, how important is it not only to have defensive capability but also to have offensive capability? We have to be able to take the cyber war to the enemy, not just defend our own cyber assets.
unless we go on to be offensive with China, there is no way that we can go to survive at all. But the most important point in this case, other than the technological aspect, is the linkage of the cyber war with the perception war, with the knowledge war that you are going to wage. Because if you go on to miss out on any of these variables, the Chinese are always going to be dominating in this case. You may go on to having your cyber capabilities very well developed in this case, which of course we don't go on to be having it right now. Otherwise, there is no way Chinese can go on to break your back only with one command given to the Huawei system in the country, and 25,000 telephones can go on to become incapacitated. Whatever that has been done in Mumbai, that is, as Professor Nalpat has been pointing it out, that
is very suspicious. No, potentially you're right. So potentially you are saying that the Chinese give one command and India's mobile network shuts down mysteriously for a few hours, and we don't know why it happened.
Yes, definitely. One command and our GIS system that is going to be running, the entire grid of the system can go to collapse at all. This is something that they have shown in some time back, and this is what they have given a glimpse of it in Mumbai as well.
Okay. So Mr. Siddhartha, just now getting into the basics now, and since we had started with the space related, let me start on the space related first. Our ability to have, at least in the South Asia region, enhanced navigation satellite systems. We've already have NAVIC, but with every satellite you launch, its capacity goes up. The ability to have 100% real-time cover in terms of for security. You can use it for remote sensing. You use it for a lot of commercial purposes. I was interviewing a company that is using AI and satellite data or to calculate crop yields, and they're doing it commercially. So on both fronts. Number 3 is creating a web that is going to provide the future internet, which is going to be space-based. This is going to be equally important. Why are we waiting for Elon Musk to do it? We should be doing it ourselves. And then ensuring that our satellite communications, both data and voice, or whatever is left of voice that is no longer data, happens on trustworthy nation satellites. How do we untangle this, Mr. Siddhartha?
See, the only way that you can go into untangle combining all of them is having a combination. The only combination is that you must be having a good amount of a manpower who is trained to understand these things as well, who is able to understand what exactly are the intentions, the psychological aspect of it that is important, the intentional aspect of it that is going to be important. Now, when you're going to combine everything and then you're going to unleash it to your own people, then you understand that the people will be able to understand it and take it to the next level. Now, our problem is that we do not going to be having that cadre that will be able to take it to the next level in the cyber domain, or also in the internet domain as well.
Okay.
Because
so I've run out of time. I want to cover a couple of things, Professor Nalap.